Hello, my friends. This is Andy and Hedia coming to you live. I'm in Orange County. Where you at, Hedia?
I'm in Ventura County.
Very good. Is it snowing in Ventura County?
No, it's actually beautiful. I can't wait to go outside and enjoy the sunshine.
I got a text message from Amy this morning. I was asking her how she's doing. I was wondering if she's buried in snow because she's in Texas. And wow, there's a lot of snow where she's at. And then she sent me a video. I should forward it to you of black ice on the road. She didn't take the video, but somebody else did. And definitely prayers to those people in Texas because they don't know how to drive on frozen roads. The crash after crash after crash. Oh, 6 people died during the period of that making of that video. Just semi trucks coming in at 40, 50. What's that?
What part of Texas is that?
Oh, you know what? I'm not sure where she's at. I think she's just outside of Austin, but I could be mistaken.
Okay, well, she's on. We're going to ask her. Amy, what part of Texas are you in?
Yeah, I could be completely way off base. We have so many friends in Texas now. I can't keep them all straight. I maybe had one friend in Texas. My parents were born, both of them were born in Texas. One was in Scurry, Texas, and one was El Paso. But that's all I knew of people that lived in Texas other than the bushes.
I tell you, if the Lord would have opened that up, I would pack my bags in a hot minute. I mean, Dallas. Okay, good. Because Dallas. I was actually looking for homes in Dallas 2 years ago in North Dallas. And I remember the guy saying, I'm like, so does it get cold here? And he's like, well, sometimes it gets really cold. We get black ice. And I was like, oh, black ice? No, I can barely drive in just ice. I can't drive in black ice. So I was actually terrified of that circumstance. So our prayers are with you, Amy, and your neighbors and your cities and those towns that they get through that safely.
Yeah, that video is something else. I wish I could. I don't know if I could share it right now, but it would be too much. But it is horrific. I mean, you just see these big semi trucks just coming at full speed, and there's nothing the driver can do, and just plow into these other cars. I was like, what the heck did I just see? She didn't even prepare me. She just sent me this video. Hey, we have black ice. And I thought I'd see a couple of cars like sliding off the road. No, it was really bad. So prayers to everybody in Texas as they're dealing with that. And of course, they got wind power there, and now they have blackouts because they don't have any. The Green New Deal caused it. Now Texas has no power because all the wind, they're not windmills. What do you call those things? The turbines are frozen, and they're not able to get energy from their primary source, I guess, in that area.
Oh, so the green energy has failed them?
Yes, shockingly, as it does here in California. Why we have rolling blackouts here. Yeah, it's shocking. She says this is a once in a lifetime weather event. Thank goodness. Yeah. Nicole, and where are you? I think where are you, Nicole? We got 2 feet of snow. Are you in Tennessee? I saw Tennessee got some snow too there in Nashville. The people were walking around the famed part of Nashville where all the bars are with all the music, and these you see these girls wearing these really short skirts, and they're walking around in snow and high heels. They didn't prepare for the snowstorm apparently. Ohio. Oh, she's in Ohio.
Oh yeah.
Wow. Yep.
Snow place.
Oh, wow. All right, let's get to the devotional. But first, go to our podcast is what it's called. Go there, livingfearlessdevotional.com. That will take you to Apple Podcast. Please subscribe and leave us a review. A review. Wow, this is going to be a tough one. I cannot think of the most simplest words today. Hedia, this is all on you. To help me through this day. All right, here we go. Let's read the devotional. Utmost for his highest is what we're reading from. And, I know, I didn't do it again. And it is a doozy. Hedia, well, at least I did. I think Hedia had the same thing. Like, wow, this is really good. And she told me some backstories behind some of the passages that are being used here. The Inspiration of Spiritual Initiative, again, by Oswald Chambers, My Utmost for His Highest. The reference is Ephesians 5:14, arise from the dead. Not all initiative, the willingness to take the first step, is inspired by God. Someone may say to you, get up and get going. Take your reluctance by the throat and throw it overboard. Just do what needs to be done. That is what we mean by ordinary human initiative. But when the Spirit of God comes to us and says, in effect, get up and get going, suddenly we find that the initiative is inspired. We all have many dreams and aspirations when we are young, but sooner or later, we realize we have no power to accomplish them. We cannot do the things we long to do, so our tendency is to think of our dreams and aspirations as dead. But God comes and says to us, arise from the dead. When God sends his inspiration, it comes to us with such miraculous power that we are able to arise from the dead and do the impossible. The remarkable thing about spiritual initiative is that the life and power comes after we get up and get going. God does not give us overcoming life. He gives us life as we overcome. When the inspiration of God comes and he says, arise from the dead, we have to get ourselves up. God will not lift us up. Our Lord said to the man with the withered hand, stretch out your hand. As soon as the man did so, his hand was healed. But he had to take the initiative. If we will take the initiative to overcome, we will find that we have the inspiration of God because he immediately gives us the power of life. Gosh, I love this one. I even loved it more the second time I read it. and I just want to read the passage in regard to Matthew 12:13, and it says, Then he said to the man, stretch out your hand. And he stretched it out, and it was restored as whole as the other. And the reason I want to read that is because I want to come to you, Hedia, because I think this is a really good place to start. Unless you want to start somewhere else, of course, you feel free to do so. But I said, do you know the story behind this particular passage and what is happening in this part of the story? And you said, not surprisingly, yes. And you knew what I had to do. Do you mind sharing that, or unless you want to start somewhere else?
Sure. I think it's one of the awesome passages where Jesus performs a miracle, but he really schools the Pharisees or the rabbis of the time by just telling them. So the man, it's the Sabbath, so they're not allowed to do anything on the Sabbath. And so when he heals this man, the Pharisees come to him and say, is it lawful to heal on the Sabbath? And Jesus is like, I mean, that's such a ridiculous question. If somebody comes and needs to be healed, how would I deny them that? And he gives this analogy where he's like, if a sheep was caught in a wire, like at a ditch or something, like down, was basically handicapped by his circumstances, would you not pull him out? You're a sheep. He's like, is this man not worth more than a sheep? And so it was really, really powerful a chapter when he talks about the importance of healing and how ridiculous that, and also the ridiculousness of, that's why we're so lucky to be under the grace instead of the law, that the Old Testament had so many rules that they put rules on top of the rules and it paralyzed them. Like they lost the spirit of God and the spirit of why they were doing things. It was just a whole bunch of rules. And he was trying to get them to break free from that. And many of them couldn't.
It's like regulations in a state or in the country. When they have so many regulations that a business can't get off the ground, you're choking the business. Like, what the hell? And the only people that can get through the regulations are people with high-powered attorneys. And they have the power, they have the people, they have the money that they can get past all these regulations, but the small guy can't. And that when you were just talking right now, that's the first thing I thought of. Like it's so hard to live. I mean, we need rules, right? We need law and order, but you cannot put, like you said, regulation on top of regulation on top of regulation so that you can't move.
Well, and this is what I found, a slight detour here, but this is what I found in 20 plus years in the federal government, is that everything we tried to do came up on 40,000 rules to prevent you from doing it. Whether it was working overseas when we were going into the invasion in Iraq or trying to solve Afghanistan, every solution us external experts brought in, everyone's like, oh, no, we can't do that. We can't do that because diplomacy says that these things have to go this way. We can't do this in a country. And no matter who I worked for that had the energy and enthusiasm to try to change the system, they wouldn't let them change it. And I think it's the same thing we saw with President Trump, is that when he saw the regulations about energy, he's like, you're not allowing these companies to move. They're not able to do anything, the whole fracking and all of those regulations. And so he removed them. And what does this president do? Puts them back on again.
Yep.
So Texas has no power in a storm. Right.
So when we go back to the devotional, and this is one of the parts that really, and that was, you're right on point, by the way. When God sends his inspiration, it comes to us with such miraculous power that we are able to arise from the dead and do the impossible. And when I read that for the second time, the thing that what really comes to mind with me is what the church needs to do now. Is that we've been kind of asleep. As I come in as essentially a new Christian. Again, I've been in this Christian faith for over 20 years, but there's just a new motivation that I have, and it feels like I've just became a Christian, because now I have a whole new understanding of what it means to be a Christian. But what I found, and the reason maybe why I was kind of floundering around, is that because the church was not doing what the church should be doing. And that's being vocal, being active, helping us understand which people we need to vote for. That and here in the United States, that's our, one of the great things about this country is we can vote for people that have policies that are right with God and our Christian conservative faith. There is a conservative faith, our Christian faith, and as a Christian, as a conservative. And that we need to be miraculously awoken to what it is that we need to do to bring our country back to a God filled country. That we've lost our way. But what does Oswald say is God won't force you out of your slumber.
He requires your initiative. He doesn't give you an overcome life. He gives you a life to overcome, but it requires our initiative.
Well, if we don't have initiative now, then I don't know when we're going to get it. Our rights are being taken away, us freedom of speech, essentially our freedom to vote has been taken away. We went through the motions, right? You and I went through the motions of actually voting, but it didn't matter, right? It was like, yeah, go ahead. Yeah, think that you're voting for the person you're voting for who's going to win. But we're going to turn it. We're going to change it. And I know now that I said that, I'm going to be suspended off of YouTube again for another week. But this is a time for being inspired. What I mean from this devotional is what we need to do.
And I love how you always bring it from a societal perspective. I mean, for me, this devotional was deeply personal because I had just gone through, and I'm not going to mention the name because it hasn't been confirmed, but a major Christian channel that came to me about doing my testimony. And at the end of the call, it was an hour and a half. She wanted to know all the details. And when it came to the part where she's like, if we interview you, every Muslim that we've ever interviewed had to go behind a screen and they had to change their voice because they were afraid of retribution. She's like, but you're obviously extremely public about your salvation. And I said, and she's like, how do you do that? And it is absolutely the power of God. So if it wasn't for God telling me to arise and to set up the ministry, I never would have done it. Never. The fear of the world would have absolutely paralyzed me. But it was the Lord's power and his purpose on my life telling me I had to do it that gave me the power to do
it. So that's you were motivated through hearing God's voice.
Yes.
Right. I've had several people over the months, even before you and I met, that were just so like, they said, I prayed and it's getting worse. I've not heard God's voice. I don't know what to do. I'm so sad and I'm so depressed. Do you have any ideas of how what are some things that we can speak to those people to inspire them to I don't know, become inspired? I was looking for another word to use other than the same word twice, but do you have any thoughts on what we say to those people?
Well, we talked about this a little bit a couple days ago, is that my experience has been often people say, I pray, but they're not necessarily listening for God's voice. So, I mean, I had a mentor along the way, and she kept saying, and I kept like arguing with her, what do you mean I'm going to hear God's voice? Is it like a burning bush? Is like Morgan Freeman going to come down and I'm going to hear this, "Mom, like, daughter," and it took months. It took months of me sitting in my room. So I would listen to sermons, I would read the Bible, and I would sit and I'd be like, God, I'm trying to hear from you. Will you please speak to me? And literally, as I was having a regular conversation, as if I was trying to get through to my dad and he was busy, and I'd be like, I just really need to talk to you. I really need you to explain this thing. And I would close my eyes and I would think and I would think. And oftentimes I would use scripture. I would read the Bible and I'd be like, please speak to me. And it eventually clicked. Now it's not easy, and it takes a lot of discipline and practice. But at first you think you're hearing your own voice, and then you realize, and so it takes practice to realize it's his voice, because it's not your thought. So you basically have to walk through the fact that, wait a minute, that wasn't my thought. So that must be him, because it's not me. Or he'll use words that you don't normally use. And the best sign of all is he tells you to do something you never would have thought of doing. And not only would you not thought of doing it, but you actually would do the exact opposite if given the opportunity. So that's why when he told me particularly about starting the ministry, I mean, I argued with God for a good couple of days. I was convinced that couldn't be possible, that was too dangerous, too crazy. No way I can do it. So I just keep telling people that you just have to practice, keep trying. And so remember that prayer is not just you asking for things, but it's supposed to be a conversation. It's a relationship.
Yep. That was really good. When you were speaking, it reminded me to go back to this one line here. It says, we all have many dreams and aspirations when we are young, but sooner or later we realize we have no power to accomplish them. We cannot do the things we long to do. So our tendency is to think of our dreams and aspirations as dead. But God comes and says to us, arise from the dead. When God sends his inspiration, it comes to us with such miraculous power that we are able to arise from the dead and do the impossible. And so much of the things that it could have been from God, I'm not sure, but there were things that I thought that I could do. Like when I decided I wanted to be the best dog trainer in the world. And, people go look at me like, what? How is that possible? Like, just to be anything, to be the best at anything of the world, people will look at you like, well, you can't do that. Like at anything, like an athlete or whatever, you got people all the time that tell you that you have that aspiration to be the best. And you have so many people that say that you can't. And that's one of the killers of motivation, is the people around you, and that you have no power to accomplish them. And not only that, they keep reminding you that you don't have the power to accomplish it. But in the motivation of what the question I had for you, and then what I thought about when you were talking, is that I remember there were times like that, like to be the best dog trainer. And what I decided to do is that I just went full in. There was no plan B. There was only plan A, and that was be the best that I could possibly be. And taking away the safety nets, taking away the option of failing, and saying that is not the option. I don't have that option. It's either I'm going to do it or I'm going to die. And so I began to drive places, like just crazy distances, to just be at a place for like a couple hours to learn from maybe the current best dog trainer that I could find, to get in a plane, to ask people for money in the community of Anaheim that say, hey, I want to go to Europe and do this thing and learn from the best. And people gave me money to go to Europe and learn from some of the best. And things began to rock and roll. And I did not give up. My aspiration was so strong and my motivation was so strong that there was nothing to, again, not having a plan B, you become very motivated. right? If you're walking on a tightrope and you have a safety net, you're going to go, I could fall, and it's not that big of a deal. But when you take away that net and if you fall, you're going to die. You find your balance, right? You can give me a stick so I can balance, whatever it takes. I am not falling because it means I'm going to die. And I hope this is making sense, but it's kind of how I feel right now with God, and my motivation to be with him is so there's no plan B. I have no plan B. Well, you're part of my plan A. Without you, you are my bar on the tightrope. You and I together work as a team to get across this tightrope, and on the other end is heaven. There's no safety net. There is no plan B.
That's a beautiful example, of course, but I'd also like to share with our listeners that us getting married was, we both thought that was dead. I thought having a traditional marriage was impossible. And it was something that the Lord spoke over me early on, but I didn't see how it was going to happen. And you had always told yourself you would never marry again.
Yeah.
So I think that the Lord has proven to us both that it is possible, and that there is no plan B. And so a lot of people, your friends, my friends, people have been like, wow, why'd you guys move so fast? And I,
my kids.
And honestly, it was, first of all, once the Lord told me it was you that he had chosen, I waited a couple months passed. I kept telling you that I knew that you were the one, that he had said that to me. So to me, after that, there was no plan B. It was like starting the ministry. I was going to do what he said. And so when I waited about us getting married, because, we had that ceremony, we got married, I waited for weeks to hear from God. And about the timing, because though he had spoken it, I still needed to wait for the Lord's timing. And then it was just one day in prayer, he said, Mary, daughter, and goodness will follow. And that was it. That was it for me. And so I think everything that we do in life, especially what we choose to do for the Lord, there should never be a plan B.
Love that. Yes. We are in agreement. Yes. As usual.
Yes. Well, because it puts everything in a perspective, because once you realize that it's this until I'm dead, then every argument, every disagreement, you're looking at it, you're like, there is no plan B. Am I going to make my day, my hour, or miserable? Or am I going to let this go because in the scheme of things, this is insignificant? It gives you the power to overcome the things that in your flesh are upsetting you, whether it's offense or just not getting your way, whether it's pride, having humility, all the things that start to attack us. And then you say, wait a minute, this is where I'm going. And I'm 100% sure this is where I'm going. So I'm going to let this distraction, I'm going to let it go.
Right. And then, like I said before, there's not having a plan B when obstacles are put in your way. You just have to figure out how you're going to negotiate it. The idea that you're just going to lay down and give up has to be taken out of the equation. Exactly. We had a little thing, and I'm not going to go into detail about it, but we had a little thing that was kind of hanging over our head, and so. I was just thinking like yesterday, I was like, what, I can't get this done. Like I've tried, the straight path. I tried the straight, the thing, like I'm going to go and nothing's working. This opposite is just like another obstacle, like what the hell? So I go, you know what? I'm going to go over here. Right. And I'm going to go this direction, and then blammo, the problem solved this morning. And so you have to be creative. You have to think, how is it? Are you going to use a ladder to get over the obstacle? Are you going to go around the obstacle? Are you going to dig under the obstacle? But that obstacle is not going to keep you from moving forward. What is the path going to be? And you just got to always be going forward. I said this, I think yesterday or day before yesterday, just as long as you're always going forward, you're going to be fine. And you may have to go a little sideways. You may have to go down, or you have to go, but just continue to try to go forward. Not try, go forward. and don't let it stop you, and don't give up. We have moments to rest. You and I have had our moments to rest where we think, well, this isn't working like we wanted to do. And let's take a step back and then reevaluate and re-engage. And so I love this talk that we're having right now because I go in so many directions, but not giving up, not falling asleep, not going back to sleep like Christians have gone. Our churches went to sleep for a while and allowed a whole bunch of things to happen. You have a bunch of pastors, preachers, fathers. What else are they called? Ministers that are not following the gospel. They're not following the gospel. They're afraid of upsetting people, which is not they're not to worry about it. They're not to worry about hurting people's feelings. They are to preach as the what the Bible says, and to give good works.
And we're watching that with two of our favorite pastors, with Pastor Jack and Pastor Mark, who both say they're practicing negative church growth practices. They're like, if the room doesn't clear out by the end of today, it'll be a miracle. And yet the room doubles in size. So, they just keep going at it. And I mean, I recently, the Lord had put on my heart to write this op-ed that was pretty harsh about what the response has been to conservative Christians as a result of the January 6th riot. And I wrote it, and so much goodness came out of it. This offer to become a columnist and this interview opportunity. And it was just God telling me, listen, just move, just move. When I tell you to move, just move, and goodness will follow. And he's just showing that to us both time and time again.
Just move. Yeah, just move. Roland wants to know, are we live streaming? Yes, we are live currently. And then some people may be coming on later and watching the replay on some of the other channels we're on. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube. But thank you for joining us on Twitch. We don't get very many viewers from Twitch. And when we do, usually it's their odd ducks. But thank you, Roland, for not being an odd duck so far. Speaking of cold, we got Jessica coming to us from Minnesota. I can't imagine how cold it is in Minnesota.
Are you buried in snow?
You just expect it to be cold in Minnesota.
Yes, always.
In the land of lakes. And April Roga's on. April said she loves, hold on. I got it moved. Loves this woman of mine. That makes two of us. I love that. Hey, Jason Jordan's on are you in Italy right now, Jason, still? Jason lives in Italy. And
poor Jason, April's living in Italy. What part of Italy?
Northern Italy, I think.
Lovely.
I've been wrong. Every time I try to guess where somebody's at, I'm completely wrong. Jessica says, "Hi, Hedy Maramati." It's she's still using your maiden name as we are still too.
We'll fix it.
Who is this Maramati that she speaks of? She says it's freezing.
Yes.
Yes. Jason's in Italy. He didn't say which part. What city in there, Jason? His wife teaches on a military base. She's a teacher for, and so I believe that's the title. I think she's a teacher for American soldiers' children.
Oh, how sweet!
And so that's why they travel around. All right. Anything else about this passage or Matthew or Ephesians? Ephesians, I didn't read that. It's Ephesians 5:14. That's a reference at the top. And it says, therefore, he says, awake you who sleep, arise from the dead, and Christ will give you light. Wow, we really hit that, I think, hard today. Am I wrong? Did we not hit that passage pretty strongly?
I hope so. And there's all these sweet comments coming from Jessica. Thank you. She says we're adorable. So, I think that's what and Jessica in particular knows that she was trying to encourage me, and her significant other was encouraging me to start broadcasting, and I just couldn't. I couldn't. I did not feel the Lord's power to do it. And as soon as you asked me to start doing it, it absolutely felt right. And I tried to be diligent and consistent with you about it. But it's, without his power and strength, it's very difficult. It's very difficult to do anything. So that's what my recommendation is to everybody else, is do your best to hear from him, and he will give you the strength and the courage to move forward.
Absolutely. Jason's wife, she trains our language teachers in Europe.
How fun.
Yeah. Very cool. And he just kind of hangs on. He's kind of like rides on our coattails.
Lovely.
No, he does a lot of other stuff. Robert Block is having trouble getting connected. I've not seen anything, Robert, about that. I thought maybe you were watching on YouTube, because I don't know if you know, you quite often watch on YouTube, but I was suspended on YouTube for a week. But now I'm back. I was in trouble. My little adorable self was suspended. How would somebody suspend somebody so adorable? I love that she said, we're adorable. I've never been called adorable, but with you, I guess the connection is with you. It's like what you do. Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Jason.
Yeah, I feel, if I could, again, I know we talk a lot about ourselves on this thing, but it's the only way we can give examples, I think. But I do think that in regard to this devotional, that inspiration that we got when we began speaking together, there was no hesitation for us to do this as a couple. And it seems so right to me. And it just seems to get better and better every time we get together. And we're gonna continue to improve and really hone this down into a viable source for people to help them hear God's words, and then hopefully, together we can move as a church through this podcast and through these live broadcasts.
Amen. And I think, and Jessica's comment, you seem to bring out the best in each other. I got to tell you, me and Andy joke about this all the time, is that first of all, our paths would never have crossed without God, and probably given to our own devices where we were as people, we probably would never have chosen each other. We are from the external seem quite different. It wasn't until I think it was the power of God and us both being obedient to God that allowed us to see, wow, we are amazingly similar. Wow, we are amazingly compatible. And it's really God's grace. So I encourage people to not discount where God leads you, because you just can't see it at first. You can't see it until he shows it. And the obedience makes it flow in a way that I've never witnessed anything else in my life, honestly.
And I find it's funny, because we've talked about this before, but like 10 years ago, we would not have been compatible.
Nope.
Neither one of us. And I'm bringing up this message here that Hedy Amiramati brings out the very soft and sweet side of you. And then the previous comment was from Carl. You're in a better mood today, and you were fired up last night. Yeah, I was not very happy last night. I was not sweet last night. I had no plans of going on. What's that?
I was so sad I wasn't there with you, because I just wanted to give you a hug. The reasons you were upset were extremely valid and important. And so it was hard to watch you that upset and not be there for you.
Oh, thank you. It just hit me just so, like, how do you use somebody like that? I mean, it's just wrong. In every way. If you didn't see the show, you're gonna have to go to the Andy Falco Show, andyfalcoshow.com, and look at yesterday's shows, if it's still up. I think it's probably still up. Deborah says, Josh, oops, sorry, that moved in when I was trying to click on Deborah's. It would never have been a match 10 years ago. God's timing is perfect. Absolutely. Now Deborah's comment. My husband and I would have normally not chosen one another, but God knew. And now 17 years, we are still like newlyweds. Wow. Woo-hoo. Tell us more. Uh, all of us too reference a hug. Yeah, Bev was watching last night too. Yeah, it was. It's just to talk about law enforcement, police officers, and I'm retired. Hetty's been in the with the FBI for a number of years and worked closely with a bunch of men and women, as did I, that are honorable family men and women who have children and have spouses. And I just got so disgusted and tired of being treated as thugs and terrorists and all the other horrible names that I've been called over the last year and a half or so. And it just hit me last night, just in the sense that a story came out about the DC officer that was they claimed was beaten up with a fire extinguisher when in fact he was not. But they used that story until after the impeachment. And then after the impeachment, they said, nah, we'll tell the truth. He didn't get beaten by a fire extinguisher. He probably had a stroke or heart attack. It just disgusted me. It just all kind of hit me last night. So and for those of you that didn't see it, I just wanted to give you some reasons why people are wanting to give me. I was just angry. I was so angry I could barely speak. I was just like, whoa, And so it just I felt like it needed to be said. I don't know who else was going to say it. And I felt I had the ability to bring it. I think there's a few hundred people that watch the show. So I think
I actually am going to play it for my daughter, because we have this argument lately where she's bombarded in social media about how cops are bad. And I constantly say to her, I mean, now she has you too. And I was like, so is Andy bad? Is he corrupt? And she's like, no, I'm not talking about individuals. I was like, is Uncle Jim, my dear friend who's retiring now too. And I was like, is he bad? She's like, no, I'm not talking about him. I'm talking about like in general. And I was like, no, you can't talk about police officers in general like that. There's just bad people in every profession, but please don't ever talk about law enforcement that way. I'm like, it breaks my heart. It really upsets me for you to do that and to think those kinds of thoughts. And so I think it's what you said needed to be said. And I think it's a very passionate plea to people and to our young people, because I think most adults don't hate police. I think it's just some obnoxious anarchists who just hate any kind of law and order. But what scares me the most is our children learning an entirely new paradigm to hate the police. Like, it's horrible. It's disgusting.
Yeah. And I guess to kind of piggyback on the devotional, when we're looking at, men and women in the military, law enforcement, firemen, emergency room doctors, that they show up, right? They don't lay down, they don't give up. They show up, and I talked about this, that when the cops were getting, arrested for doing their job, right? Getting fired for doing their job. And I was like warning them. I said, don't go to work. You got to be kidding me. You're going to go to work. You're going to do something. You're going to have to arrest somebody. And if they're the wrong color or the wrong, religion, or I don't know. I mean, who knew at the point, what was going to happen? And they showed up for work. They go, what, this is my job. And if I'm going to get arrested for doing my job, it's almost like being a Christian. I'm going to say I'm a Christian, regardless of the, if I'm in China or if I'm in a country that doesn't like Christians, I'm a Christian. There's nothing, I'm not going to say I'm not. I'm not going to say I'm Muslim when in fact I'm a Christian. I'm not going to say I'm a Jew when I'm actually a Christian. And it's kind of that same thing, right? The cops say, I have a job to do. I have to protect people. Without me, the evil will win, and they continue to show up to work. So,
and they need not only retired law enforcement, but they need the society to defend them, because if you talk to officers now, they're retiring in droves, and police departments are losing good cops, like hemorrhaging their good officers. And so then what happens to us as a society as a consequence is the cadre of people that come up willing to do that job are probably not stellar individuals that we want actually protecting us. And so what is going to happen to the crime rates in our towns? What's going to happen to the relationship between people and law enforcement? If all the people who went to work, as you describe, with honor and courage and strength are replaced with people who are like, yeah, who cares? I'll just sit back and watch the watch the people break stuff. Yeah, good. Power to the people. I mean, like, what's going to happen to our society when those fundamental values of a free society, strong law enforcement, are destroyed?
Right. And when they're having to lower the
bar,
the whole lowering the bar, the requirements. Yeah. So that people that would not normally make it are now going to be able to get through. We're in a weird situation. Yes. So we need to wake up. We need to be motivated. We need to, again, the churches have to open up. The churches have to read biblical scripture, like, and even the stuff that they think is not healthy. And like you said before, Jack, does it every Sunday, and the church is growing. So the pastors who are afraid to talk about abortion, that are afraid to talk about man and woman, need to learn a lesson from Jack. It's not what you think. Those churches are closing. Those churches are losing funding. They are falling apart. They're not able to pay their rent or their mortgage. But yet you got Calvary Chapel Chino Hills, which is just like exploding all over the world.
And Pastor Mark said that in Arizona, that most churches are down to 30%. And they are up to 225%. and
between Jack and Mark, oh my gosh, put those two in a room and you'll hear some stuff. It'll be amazing.
It's a lesson for our lives. Be bold and courageous. I explained I had the same experience where I was a little intimidated by posting the article, and I did it, and all of this goodness came out of it. The Lord will show you that you're exactly where you should be.
And Carl, thank you for your service there in Garden Grove, California. 160 more days, and another good officer is going to retire. Another fantastic officer going to retire. And who's going to replace him? Like Hedia said. Carl, thank you for your service. We appreciate you. Love you, man. Yes. And God bless your journey after law enforcement. Wow. Good guy. All right, Hedia, anything else?
That's it.
We talked about a whole bunch of stuff there. I love our show.
If I can say so myself.
I don't say it. We have lots of comments. I love how we could go a show without one comment, and then we have to figure out that formula.
Right?
Yeah, whatever that is.
My observation is the hour in which we broadcast.
Yeah, absolutely.
When we do it in the middle of the morning, like at 11, we have far less people participating and listening. But when we do it at this hour, which is what we intend at 9 o'clock, people, I think, are anticipating that we're going to come on at this time. So they're watching. And I think also a lot of our dear friends are on at this hour.
Yep. Consistency at that at that time, but like on Sundays we're not going to do it at 6 o'clock in the morning. No. I'm not. Well, God may talk to me and say, Andy, you need to do it at 6 o'clock, and then I'll have to do it.
I've seen you do it a couple of times driving to church with the kids.
Yeah, I've thought about doing that from time to time, but then then it would be a different dynamic. But maybe we'll do that. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you have a bench seat in the front of the car. I could just stick my head over.
Yeah. You could sit next to me.
Yeah.
Like high school.
Like
one of our first dates, you told me to put down or put up the center thing so that you could sit next to me. Do you remember that? Like,
yes.
Like you were like, what? You can put that up? You mean we could sit that? You were all excited.
I never dated a guy or been with someone that had a pickup truck. And when I lifted the thing, I was like, oh, it's like a country music video. I was so excited.
Yeah, thank God I sold my Mercedes. And so I wanted you to feel, that I was authentic. In my pickup truck.
God is good.
I love it. Like you said, I've never been with a guy with a truck. I took my lawnmower out and my leaf blower and my weed whacker. I took all that out.
I never dated a Mexican. So there you go.
Oh my God, I love you. Woo! All right. We got to get going here. Amy, I just want to hit a couple of good shows. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Hopefully it warmed you up a little bit there in Texas. If you guys need a cute show intro video, I'm your gal. Nice.
Yes, Jessica's super talented.
All right. So you're saying mine stinks? Is that what you're saying, Jessica?
No, I don't know if she's seen it. I don't know if she's seen how awesome it is.
Well, your name's not on it. I got to make that adjustment today. Today, I'm putting your name in the intro video, and maybe we'll hit up Jessica and have her put one together for us. I got a couple videos that we'll see, but I'd love to see your work, Jessica, for sure. You are very reliable.
Relatable.
Right? Relatable. Sorry, the font's small. I love all. Tag me next time. I don't know. Yeah, I can't even tag Hedia because we go live like instantly. So there's no way of tagging. So you have to subscribe. So make sure and subscribe or follow, and then ask to be notified when we go live, and that will trigger that. You guys crack me up. Wow, that's a name that I've not seen that name before.
My friend Cindy, she's my friend. Oh,
nice, Cindy. Thanks for joining us. I'm sorry. No, you don't need to be sorry. Hedia's God said this to me a couple times before, that, sometimes you say things, I don't think people think you're joking. I go, oh, or that you're offended. I'm not offended. I'm sorry. I'm just saying.
Dry sense of humor. But
I would love to see your work, and I would love to use your video. Let's do something. Let's check it out.
Her husband does a show called Gratitude Unfiltered. And so
that sounds really cool.
He's got a very, very cool intro video, and they put together some really cool stuff. And you want to see some of her work, a lot of my social media, they managed my social media when Resurrect Ministry got started, like soon after. So a predominant amount of my social media posts are from Jessica.
Hey, do you like my sizzle reel?
Is that the one you put on yesterday in front of your video, your training video? Yeah. I loved it.
Dude,
I loved it. There's a lot of really pretty girls, but I tried to focus just on you.
That's all my interviews are from. That's who was interviewing.
Why does not a single man interview you? I just explain that to me.
Oh, I don't know that I've ever. That is actually. I mean, on a podcast, I've had men interview me, but on TV, it's always been the news anchors and the host, those people have always been women.
Yeah. I encourage the women out there to watch it, because I have never seen so many pretty big busted women in a 1 minute clip in my life.
Let me see.
None of them are kind of average looking either.
Here we go. Here you go. You ready?
Oh,
You are right. There was not one man.
At least they all have their clothes on, though. Most of them are dressed very appropriately. So, but yeah.
I think all of them, except for one, is married, or at least was married at the time. So I don't know if that gives you any solace. Is that the right use of that word?
No, I mean, we both have a colorful past, so that's not a problem. but just an observation.
I have nothing to say.
Why would you?
I don't know. All right. Well, with that, I got to find my place again. There's my other exit video, my outro. All right. What do you got planned for the day, Hedia?
I just have a bunch of to-dos.
Yeah.
Nothing too serious.
Yeah, me too. Oh, I have a call today that I have a conference call and some other stuff. But I'm seeing the kids. I have not seen the kids for a week. And so they all come back home today, and then we got homework and all that kind of stuff. And everything goes back to, back to normal.
Yeah.
So I'll be spending a lot of time with the kids. And it was my daughter's birthday. Her 13. She's a teenager now. Ray is now 13. Oh. And her, things are happening to her body and stuff like that.
Life as you know it will change.
Oh, I'm glad that I have a woman in my life now that will help me with this little woman.
Buckle your seatbelt.
So we'll be dealing with that today. All right, my friends, I really enjoyed this devotional today. I really enjoyed my time with all of you and with my lovely bride. It's been really good. I really enjoyed it so much. And I may have to find a man who interviewed me and put it in that sizzle reel.
It's okay. It's all good.
All right, my friends, we love you. Thank you for watching. Make sure and subscribe and share. And those of you watching on a replay, same thing. Comment, even though you're watching the replay, even though we're not live. That would be fantastic. All right. And Hedia?
Yes. God bless you. Have a beautiful day, everyone.
Take care.